5 years ago, what did you set out to do in these greenhouses with your compost?
Well, first of all we came and saw Phuong and asked him what he was seeing in his greenhouses. He continuously had an issue in one of his greenhouses where he'd been growing eggplants for some time. They'd grow up to a certain height and then they'd collapse. We took some samples back to SARDI and had a look at them, and he was suffering from probably a bit of a disease complex, soil-borne fungal disease. It was in one of his lower lying areas in a greenhouse here that he'd always had problems. Water used to pool there, and it was a disease-prone area. So we came in, Phuong allowed us to work in his worst area, and we came in at a fairly high rate, 3 or 4, maybe 5 centimetres of compost that we spread on top, a fine-grade compost. Phuong incorporated that and then went about his normal management practice. In order to wet up the soil where we had the high rate of compost, he would have had to apply too much water to the rest of the crop. So the plants, the young seedlings in the composted area, suffered a bit through lack of water to start with. Now, they recovered from that. They set better crop, didn't they? That's right. When we came in and did an analysis.
And we counted the number of fruit.
Yep.
Yesterday another side set about 3, 4, 5. It's the setting there. But the one setting a bit lighting. But after they start setting, at least 12 or 13, it's setting.
Yep. And that was an extremely hot year as well, wasn't it? And there were a number of greenhouses where plants really suffered, and they were able to cope with the extremely hot weather as well.
Yes.
So now your watering regime has changed quite considerably. So now when you establish a crop, you give it a good heavy watering because of the improved water holding capacity. Wet it right up, but then you don't have to water as often. Originally, when I first came here, when you weren't using compost, the water used to, around the drippers, it would pool out on top and then sort of at depth it would contract. And now it's the other way around. It sits on top like this and then moves out.
On the bottom.
And the roots are out in that beautiful looking soil. There's a benefit from the improved disease suppressiveness of a healthier plant and a healthier soil.
On the top, they dry up a little bit. The water on the ground, plenty for the plant. And that's why I think the humidity is less.
The fact that you're watering less frequently, and that has allowed you to, well, you don't have a problem now with powdery mildew like you used to have on the bottom leaves. You're saying that it's easier to control things like thrips as well, these sort of things?
You control thrip, I think that maybe the plant is stronger.
Yep.
But to me, if we keep up the fungicide, the plant and the flower very happy. And they keep it up better. Because many times we spray with the fungicide. Next day you can see the color flower change. And for one thing, you know, the fruit always better soil and glossy. Sell like better.
Yep. And you find that you've been able to spread your crop out so it's not as densely planted.
Yeah.
And so you're making a saving in your initial planting savings. You're planting less plants, but you're getting a heavier crop set and a longer cropping period.
Sometime before, you know, the plant going too tall, not 7, and after, 6, 7 months we have to clean up. Look, the plant happy, and the soil structure is changing. But the thing we say in fertilizer, because the root got plenty of food on the ground. They eat slowly, they're growing. And we let feed them. I find out more we feed them now, more we kill the soil. Because some fertilizer inside, we don't know how much the plant take away and how much left there. We just guess.
It'd be really interesting to do a soil test too. We did them earlier on, and the things we noticed were extremely high potassium levels here, for example. What was originally locked up in the soil becomes more available to the plant through the use of compost. Plus, the compost itself supplies an amount of that. Plants are healthy. Everyone's happy.
Except the diseases and the pests that used to have such a great time in here.
Yeah, that's right. The pathologists aren't as happy.
If for some terrible reason you couldn't get any more compost to use in your growing, what would you think? What would you feel?
We make compost.